So this is the other thing that's really interesting about professional selling is when you go on most sales training courses, they really only discuss the formal sales call. So you come away knowing how to conduct a formal sales call with a customer, or kind of know how to conduct a formal sales call with a customer. But there's loads of different sales call scenarios that we encounter in sales, in field-based sales especially. And I think we need to look at each of them and come up with some ways of increasing our chances of success. Because, well, let's look at them. Common introduction scenarios. It's quite a short one, this. Formal meeting. So this is the classic training scenario. So you actually gain a formal meeting with a customer. You set an appointment, you go and meet your customer at an arranged time in possibly an office or their premises or a coffee room, whatever it may be. But you have formally booked in advance a meeting with that customer. And this gives you a really good platform to have a clear start to the meeting. You're invited to open the call, so they'll actually ask you to open the call. And it's ideal for setting a formal agenda. So we know that setting a formal agenda is key to sales success. So these types of meeting are perfect. These are absolutely perfect. So ideally, we'd want our diary full of formal meetings with our customers because they know that we're there for a reason. And it's really, really, really important. However, a vast proportion of the sales calls you will encounter will be of a different kind. So you will have the informal meeting. You will have the meeting which is a coffee room perhaps, where you haven't booked it in advance. You see a customer and you decide to have a conversation with them. A corridor call. So if you're dealing with a big client which has big premises, some public body, for example, my experience was in the National Health Service, it wasn't uncommon to actually bump into a customer in a corridor. Or really, really common in lots of different jobs, in IT jobs. I was saying earlier about account management type roles and service roles. You will be delivering a service at a customer's site. So the sale will possibly be done, or they're an existing customer, and you will be at that customer's site and you will be delivering a service, and you will have an opportunity to potentially sell to that customer. So it's social, it's conversational. So you maybe have developed a relationship, you've known them for a while, you'll be in a coffee room, a corridor. So it's social, conversational, and it's very different from the formal meeting we just talked about. It's very difficult sometimes to set a formal agenda. So you're in a friendly social scenario, and to suddenly flip things around and to say, actually, can we have a sit down and discuss business can actually be quite a difficult thing to do, because often the customer they've not planned this time. They're not there to be sold to, and you'll even hear them saying, don't sell to me. Please don't sell to me. And it's usually in a friendly manner. I mean, I've had lots of customers over the years that I've become really friendly with, and you're in a service delivery setting, but you'll still have an agenda that you want to push with that customer. There's still objectives that you want to have, and they'll actually say to you, don't sell to me. I didn't think you were a salesperson. I think you've become the service delivery person. And suddenly it becomes much more difficult to do your job, which, let's go back to fundamentals. Why has your company employed you? Why have they given you this high-paying sales job? Because they want you to sell to their customers. They want you to grow their business. They don't want you to just be their friends, okay? And that's a really common scenario. And then we have the proactive meeting. So this is the meeting where the customer definitely has not requested it. You're not there to deliver service. This is a cold call. You've been trying to get hold of that customer on the phone for a few days, maybe a few weeks, maybe longer. So you decide to cold call them. You decide to cold call them at their premises or at a meeting scenario. And this is probably one of the most difficult situations to sell in, and one of the ones that can cause the most upset and offense to a customer. So you have to approach your customer. These are stand meetings. So if you're in a big industry, you're in, whatever industry you're in, whether it's the IT industry, the booze industry, the healthcare industry, you'll find that within your industry there's probably going to be stand meetings and exhibitions where there'll be customers walking around, and they'll be there for the congress, they'll be where to meet their colleagues, and it's your job to approach that customer and try and sell to them. And it's really difficult, even more difficult to set a formal agenda with them. You can't just stop them and say, oh, excuse me, can I just have a formal sales call with you? Really difficult to do that. But again, that's what your company's paying you to do. Your company is paying you each time you have an interaction with their customer to further their business or further your business. Otherwise, what's the point? It's just a social interaction. Well, you might be developing a deeper relationship with that person, but ultimately, you can do both. You can actually have a formal agenda with them. And this is what your customer's thinking in these scenarios generally. How do I avoid the rep? How do I avoid this person that's going to sell to me? That's what they're thinking. You'll actually see them physically as you go towards them to cold call them, especially at a stand meeting. They'll be making a beeline to avoid you. They don't want to have anything to do with you at that moment in time. So as a summary, what have we learned here? So which scenario do you think is the most effective to enable you to sell? Well, we know this already. Your top priority is to book appointments in advance with your customer, because when you have that formal appointment with your customer, you've already gained permission to sell to them. And like I say, as we said earlier, they will invite you to open the call. They will invite you to be able to present the structure we're about to go into, the working week sales process. They'll invite you to do that in that formal appointment scenario. So, top priority. The informal scenario requires permission to sell. I would actually suggest to you, in the informal scenario where you're delivering service, what your objective should be is to use it as an opportunity to further your relationships, become that likable character that they want to deal with, and use it as an opportunity to gain formal appointments. Ask your customer while you're there, have you got a minute and a moment for us to sit down and discuss X? If they say yes, brilliant. If they say they haven't got time, say, oh, that's fine, no problem. Let's set another time in the diary. But whatever you do, you need to be able to set the formal agenda. And in the proactive one, I'd say your biggest objective for the majority of the people you meet in a proactive setting is to gain a formal appointment. You probably won't be given the chance to sell to them. If you are, fantastic, brilliant. Every now and again, you will meet a customer proactively, you will cold call them, you will bump into them at an exhibition, in a corridor, what have you, and they will want to speak to you about something because they happen to be in a gaseous state. They're a customer that wants to do something really, and they'll want you to talk to them, and that's brilliant. That's, go for it, do the selling there. But the majority of the time, they're not going to have the time. They haven't planned it. So your objective with that customer in that scenario is to gain a formal appointment. Say to them, hey, really great to see you. Really nice to bump into you. I've got this great new product I want to discuss with you, or service. When's a great time? Who do I need to speak to? Let's book an appointment. And I think that's a really, really sensible objective with those sorts of calls and customers.